We're being gaslit that the BBC is left-wing, even though all of the available evidence tells us the other way around.
What's the other thing we've been gaslit about the BBC?
The biggest gaslighting of all is this Michael Prescott report says that the BBC, wait for it, we're going to do a little drum roll. The BBC, folks, pro-Palestinian.
And anti-Israel. What he did is he focused on the BBC Arabic service, and a lot of the critique actually relies on comparing BBC Arabic to BBC News Online.
Yeah.
Now, we know from the stats what the truth is, because
I brought some stats.
Great, well, I've got some. You do them.
You go.
The Centre for Media Monitoring, they found in the first year of the genocide, they looked through a vast amount of broadcast, online content, all the rest of it. They found that even though the official statistics at the time found 34 times more Palestinians have been killed than Israelis, a drastic underestimate, by the way, but nonetheless, the BBC gave Israeli deaths 33 times more coverage per fatality. They used the motive terms 4 times more for Israeli victims. They applied massacre 18 times more to Israeli casualties. They used murder 220 times for Israelis and once for Palestinians. They interviewed 1,085 Palestinians compared to 2,350 Israelis. And they shared the Israeli perspective 2,340 times compared to 217 times.
11 times as much they did the Israeli perspective.
The airbrushing of Israeli atrocities, the failure to name the perpetrator.
Oh yeah, the lack of agency. All of the BBC News headlines online have been astonishing. I've mentioned this one before. There's one that got my eye always. There was one where a Palestinian man had lost 100 members of his family, and the headline was something along the lines of "Man loses 100 members of his family." What, down the back of a couch?
But they did this
where did he lose them?
It was constantly.
And it was like the 30th or 31st paragraph where they go, he says the Israelis bombed his family. You have to wait 30 paragraphs to find out who killed his family.
But that's the other thing they do, because they would say, even when it was objectively true. So, for example, they did one headline in which the headline was the Israeli president denied that a hospital was being struck by missiles as it was objectively being struck by missiles. But the other thing that we
by the way, they never do that for Ukraine. One point is the BBC, you might be watching and thinking, look, lay off the BBC. They've got to be impartial. They've got to do this, but they don't do it for Ukraine.
No,
for Ukraine, they'll say Russia bombed hospital.
But it gets worse, because what they also do, this is the problem, it's endless, is they will frame stories about atrocities when they actually write about them, or attacks. They will frame often paragraph after paragraph around Israeli claims.
Yes.
Even though we know as a fact that Israel's authorities lie over and over again. And when something objectively happens, they will say, Hamas claims this, even though it's just the fact that, this hospital or these paramedics have been slaughtered. The fact is, the BBC's coverage of Israel's genocide is one of the great journalistic crimes of our age.